To some, it's a foregone conclusion, but South Africa's fourth fully democratic election is shaping as a tough test for the ruling ANC. 15 years in power, but has it actually failed in its mission? Or is the party's controversial leader just the proverbial kick that's needed? South Africa votes, but what a challenge ahead. This is Inside Story. Hello there, I'm Kamal Santamaria. Political crossroads pop up every now and then in any country, and it seems that's where South Africa might find itself right now, 15 years after the official end of apartheid. It can either vote for change or more of the same, but with a decidedly new and perhaps more controversial leadership. Whichever way it goes, South Africa is turning out in huge numbers. Over 23 million people are registered to vote, with election officials creating around 20,000 polling stations to deal with that ballot. It is a National Assembly election, 400 parliamentary seats to be decided, with the country's new president to be installed on May the 6th. That is when the new parliament opens. Now, for the record, this is a very basic look at the South African political parties. The ruling party, it's the ANC, the African National Congress. It has been in power since South Africa's first post-apartheid election in 1994. The opposition, there it is, the predominantly white South African Democratic Alliance Party, not expected to win. But if you combine it with a third party, the newly formed Congress of the People, or COPE, that could affect the ANC's majority in Parliament. COPE largely made up of the disgruntled supporters of the former South African President Thabo Mbeki. Now, despite the ANC's political dominance, this is still being billed as the country's most hotly contested election. Some voters even arriving at polling booths well before they opened. For many, this is their only opportunity to have their voice heard.
I think it's important because way back you couldn't do all of that. But right now we have the choice for everything, for anything I want. I could even choose not to vote.
Yes, we're going to vote because we believe that our party, the one that I'm going to vote for, which is the one that I know, is going to give our children us better jobs, and we believe that there are going to be changes in our country.
OK, let's bring in our guests. At this point in Pretoria is Jessie Duarte, a South African politician and a spokesperson for the ANC, the African National Congress. In Cape Town is Paul Bowie, Director of Communications for the Democratic Alliance Opposition Party. And rounding out our panel in London is Andrew Feinstein, a political analyst, author of the book After the Party, Corruption, the ANC and South Africa's Uncertain Future. Thank you to all of you for joining us in Inside Story. I want to start with the same question for all three of you, and just a brief answer, if you wouldn't mind, from each of you. After 15 years, what has the ANC actually achieved on all the big South African issues? We'll start with Jessie Duarte in Pretoria.
Well, thank you very much, Kamal. The ANC has in fact achieved what we believe is the beginning of the eradication of poverty in our country. 3.5 million houses have been built, of which 2.1 million of those are free houses. 80% of our homes are electrified, 88% water. Our education system has improved, although there are many, many challenges that we need to face there, but we do have a good attendance of children between the ages of 7 and 15. We have also been able to increase the number of healthcare centres to 1,600 in our country. We are well on our way to improving our rollout in terms of HIV and AIDS antiretrovirals to people who are affected, with the idea that we need to embark on a very stringent program for education in this regard. Our economy has been very stable. We have taken a knock because of the global recession, but we believe that with the plans in place, we will make a recovery quite soon. Our plans for the future are well defined and are affordable. They're also very pragmatic. The ANC believes that our position to govern the country is a good position. We're very proud of our legacy, and we will be going ahead with confidence.
All sounds very positive, doesn't it? Paul Bowie, let's ask you in Cape Town for your thoughts on the last 15 years.
Well, there's no doubt that South Africa has improved tremendously in the last 15 years, and in key areas like macroeconomic stability, there's much to be praised from the ANC's efforts. However, in critical areas of service delivery, most notably crime, South Africa continues to labour under excessive levels of especially violent crime. Our education system is not producing enough children who can read, write and are numerate. And as a result, we have a society which is increasingly becoming dysfunctional. We have a healthcare system which is in many cases in chaos. In key provinces in South Africa, there's simply not enough service provision. ARVs are not being rolled out at the level they should be. And these critical issues are the ones that need to be confronted. And we will see in the results of this election that there will clearly be a message from the people of South Africa. More needs to be done. There has to be increased and improved service delivery. And also, coupled with that, there needs to be a stronger focus on protecting the Constitution. The Democratic Alliance has raised the alarm bell on a consistent basis that the Constitution in South Africa is our founding compact, and increasingly it is coming under strain from an increasingly aggressive ruling party.
And finally, Andrew Feinstein in London.
I think I would add to the achievements that Jesse mentioned what is perhaps taken for granted now, and that is that the ANC has brought non-racial democracy to South Africa. And the nature of today's voting, it will be a free and fair election. It will be almost entirely violence-free, and this is a great achievement for a country that just a couple of decades ago was a racist police state, and we shouldn't forget that. And I also acknowledge that I think the ANC has delivered a great deal. However, where I am concerned going forward is that certain of the institutions of democracy have been under threat from the ruling party. I think the elision of party interests with state interests has created certain difficulties, and the spectre of corruption has loomed over government for a number of years now. So while I think there have been a great many achievements, there are also some very real areas of concern as we look forward.
All right, so a lot of issues raised there, and quite rightly. Let me go back though to Paul Bowie, excuse me, in Cape Town, because even with all those issues, it is seen, and I think you'll agree with me, that it is almost fait accompli that Jacob Zuma and the ANC will win this election. How does your party, how does the Democratic Alliance Party go into a vote where seemingly the odds are so stacked against you and no one really thinks your man can win, or I should say your woman and your party can win?
Well, we go with a very clear sense of resolve. We know that we have to build the alternative in South Africa, that South Africa's democracy can only grow stronger if there's a strong opposition. But more than that, we are also very confident of the fact that we will form the basis of a government here in the Western Cape. Also, if we do well in other provinces, most notably in Gauteng, even in the Northwest, that with potential coalition partners, we can continue to build alternative opposition governments, and that is absolutely essential for South Africa's democratic trajectory. Already the Democratic Alliance has proved very successful in the city of Cape Town, along with our coalition partners, in increasing and improving service delivery, rooting out corruption, and showing a full commitment to the rule of law and democratic institutions which are essential to ensure South Africa's long-term survival. So no, we're absolutely committed, resolved to do as well as we can, and we're cautiously optimistic that we will emerge again as the second largest party in South Africa, more diverse and even readier to take on the challenges, the numerous challenges that South Africa continues to face.
And I guess what can happen is that regardless of the presidential outcome, what that ends up being in May, the majority in Parliament can be an important thing. Do you believe that you can knock down the ANC's majority and so that it won't have that two-thirds majority?
Well, again, we are cautiously optimistic. We'll certainly know soon enough once the results come in, but a key plank of our campaign is to drive the message that a two-thirds majority for the ANC under Jacob Zuma has a potential disaster for South Africa. We've already seen since December this year, or last year, that there have been increasing moves to undermine our constitutional order. Our elite crime-fighting unit, the Scorpions, were disbanded for obviously political reasons. The Constitution itself has come under threat. Jacob Zuma, once he was politically, we would argue, motivated decision, let off his corruption charges, made ominous noises about certain Constitutional Court judges, kind of inferring, in a sense, that the Constitutional Court is going to be given a lesser status, and he even singled out specific judges for very harsh treatment. So a two-thirds majority for any party is a danger in a country. A two-thirds majority for the Jacob Zuma ruling clique in the ANC is a very, very grave danger. So yes, we're confident that we, along with other opposition parties, can hold the ANC under two-thirds, because we believe it is an absolute prerequisite to sustain and nurture our democracy in South Africa.
You all mentioned some of the challenges that any new government would face in South Africa, and I want to go back to those and actually bring some up on screen for our viewers to look at as well, and we'll talk a bit more after that. One of the main issues, Jesse mentioned this, the economy. On top of the world financial crash, almost a quarter of the population of South Africa is unemployed. HIV and AIDS, huge issue, almost 6 million people infected with the HIV virus. And, as we've already heard as well, corruption and crime. And it's from the top down. Government corruption is blamed for slowing national reforms. Local corruption said to prevent resources and services being equally distributed. That, in turn, is believed to contribute to South Africa's high crime rates. Over 50 murders, would you believe, every day. Jesse Duarte in Pretoria, let me come to you as a representative from the current government. Admittedly, I've just listed a whole lot of negative things there, but that doesn't look like a good record for your party.
Kamal,
go ahead.
Thank you very much, Kamal. You make my country sound like it's a basket case. I want to set you straight and say that it is not. We're a developing country, and we have all the problems that most developing countries do have. On top of that, we have an economy that is dominated by a fairly wealthy minority of people. And we believe that that is exactly what we need to change in the shortest possible space of time. In terms of the Constitution, the ANC was the only political party in '94 that adopted the Constitution without any reservations at all. The Constitution is very secure in the hands of the ANC. We have no intention of changing the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. We are the only political party in our manifesto who has made no reference to making changes in the Constitution, contrary to many other political parties. The issue around crime, yes, indeed, is a challenge. It is also a challenge because syndicated crime has not been dealt with adequately. We acknowledge that. And the movement of a very elite, highly subsidized group of people in a small unit wasn't really making a difference. We talked about this as early as 1992. Of the transformation of our criminal justice system, including giving more resources to the South African police services, as well as including more police on the beat and improving our detective services. We do have a position that is very clear about the rule of law. We respect the rule of law. We do believe that we have integrity at the level of the Constitutional Court as well as other courts. Our magistrate court need a lot of attention. Most South Africans will tell you that at the lower courts there is a problem. We need to correct that. We are also of the view that like every other person who is a public official, when a judge makes a comment, they cannot expect not to be responded to. And we all of us in this country reserve the right to comment on judgments that are made. That
Jesse, I'm going to have to jump in there. I'm going to have to interrupt you, I'm afraid, and I'm sorry about that
regretfully,
delay on the satellite.
Not respecting the rule of law.
Because we do have to take a break on Inside Story. When we come back, though, a close and critical look at the man slated to rule South Africa in the coming years, the one and only Jacob Zuma. That's after the break.